What's up, kinfolk? Welcome to the #1 ranked show sponsored by Direct TV Stream. I'm your host, RJ Young. Thank you for watching on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or listening wherever you get your podcasts. So today, we're going big game hunting with Bud Kilmer counting 5 ranked matchups and every last top 25 team getting nuck if you buck, hustling and flowing to the football, and 7 of them caught holding that L. I love preseason rankings because it turns college football into a blood sport. Let's go. It's the #1 ranked show. So we got to start with number 5, Georgia, upsetting number 3, Clemson, 10-3. And ladies and gentlemen, there was a reckoning tonight. A bloodletting was had. A sickness was cast out. In 2020, the UGA offense averaged 37 points and 311 passing yards per game with JT Daniels behind center. It's averaged just 29 points and 209 passing yards per game without him. Crucially, the Bulldogs were undefeated with a 4-0 record with Daniels at quarterback and averaged better than 300 passing yards with 10 passing TDs and 2 INTs. There are 12 returnees from that 2020 team on the 2021 squad, and 8 of those play on the offense. Last year, Alabama quarterback Mac Jones ranked first in passing yards per attempt at 11.19. In 4 games in 2020, Daniels averaged 10.34 yards per attempt, which ranked second among Power 5 QBs, with a minimum of 100 pass attempts. Heading into Saturday, Georgia was 42-18-4 all time versus Clemson, including a 45-21 shellacking in 2014, though this was the first ever game between the schools when both are ranked in the top 5 of the AP. Now, check it, man. When DJ Uiagalelei threw that pick 6, I knew the wheels had come off of the Clemson wagon, okay? Every starting quarterback at the top 4 teams in the country has thrown at least 1 interception in their opener, except Heisman frontrunner Bryce Young, who we will talk about a little bit later on. Clemson also, get this, rushed for 1 yard in the first half against Georgia. Their lowest first half total since 2008. And hold on to that fact because it also scored as many points as Penn State and Wisconsin teams that they were making fun of in that first half football on Saturday earlier. Then in the third quarter, I looked down and saw that Clemson had rushed for -19 yards. That's right, -19 means on top of sacking DJ Uiagalelei 7 times, the Dogs literally put the number 3 team in the country in a hole. You know, like a 6-foot hole, like in a pauper field. Like rushing yards, you know, taking QB sacks into account for the math might be unfair, but so are tax brackets and student loan debt, yet here we are. Anyway, they finished with 2 rushing yards and scored 3 points. And those 3 points are the fewest by a Clemson team since 2007. September 29, 2007, when they lost to Georgia Tech 13-3. And to demonstrate how long ago that was, Georgia Tech lost $1 million payout and to North Illinois today, to the NIU Huskies. This is what Clemson is staring down. I don't want to hear no more talk about Clemson making the college football playoff. They were done today because preseason rankings exist. No, look at the schedule, okay? The 2 best teams left in the ACC were UNC and Miami. Now you are praying that North Carolina State and Virginia Tech will carry the load for you. No, sir. I don't want to hear any more conversation about Clemson making the college football playoff. The schedule is Keyshawn Booty. You get what I'm saying here? Because that's my lead-in to UCLA beating number 16 LSU 38-20. Now, check it. Hard as it was to believe, this was the first time, or the first game, between the big bad Bears of Westwood and the Zydeco banging Bayou Bengals. This despite a Pac-12 school has been in every one of the 25 games played against LSU because that's a verifiable fact. The Pac-12 was in those games because they showed up and they got the clocks clean like they were being disinfected for COVID. LSU was 22-3 all time against Pac-12 opponents heading into Saturday. And UCLA was a paltry 13-2, like Clemson's rushing yards. UCLA looked at itself in the mirror like Michael Jackson, you know the song, and said, "Not today, Satan. Not today, Satan." My God. Okay, UCLA ran up and down LSU, 200 plus yards against LSU for the OGs in the house. Dorian Thompson-Robinson had 260 yards passing at one point and averaged 16.3 yards per attempt with 3 TDs and a pick with 6:31 left to play. And of course, UCLA wins 38-28. But should UCLA be ranked? Hell yes, they should be ranked. That's a tease. The Revenant sequel featuring Pac-12 football is what I'm here for. But that would also mean that you have to come back from the dead, which is what Washington's going to have to do. Check it. FCS Montana upset number 20 Washington. Whoo, boy. According to Montana, first time in their history that they have beaten Washington. I think they would be the authority on such a thing. And we have not seen an FCS team beat a ranked opponent in who knows how long. It's not just that the FCS Montana squad upset number 20 Washington 13-7 in Seattle. It's that the Huskies paid the Grizzlies $675,000 for the privilege. Isn't it so Pac-12 for an unranked team to beat a ranked SEC team while a ranked Pac-12 team lost to an FCS team? I think so. Pac-12 football. It's going to be a lot of fun this year. Okay. You know what's not going to be a lot of fun? Playing Alabama. Number 1, Alabama ran roughshod over number 14, Miami, 44-13, like Bosworth to 13. Nick Saban followed up losing 5 first-round draft picks to the NFL with quite literally the best recruiting class in history. That's like if the Infinity Gauntlet was being worn by Captain Marvel. It's a total hat on a hat situation. You don't stop that. You bend the knee and beg for mercy because the Dragon Queen has you. Anyway, Alabama demonstrated that when the Tide obviously saw where I ranked them because of the new starting quarterback, the new offense coordinator, the new center, the new receiving core, and the new cornerback. And, he took out their frustrations on Miami. Look, new parts don't usually play like they've got 50,000 miles together. So I was right to doubt them, just not anymore because now we have football. Ohio State is as talented as Alabama and as new in some spots. Stack Alabama's performance against Miami with Ohio State's performance against Minnesota. And this is the Kong variant, Nick Saban. But the Tide didn't escape this one unscathed either. Linebacker Christopher Allen suffered an injury that could sideline him for the rest of the season. Meanwhile, Bryce Young was otherworldly. Bryce Young played like $1 million quarterback because, well, he actually is. He hit 27 of 38 for 344 with 4 TDs. And just like that, he's the Heisman frontrunner, mostly because unlike Spencer Rattler, CJ Stroud, and DJ Uiagalelei, he didn't throw an interception. And then Jameson Williams played like he was once number 4 on the wide receiver depth chart at Ohio State, and he chose to hold a grudge. He had 4 catches for 126, including 1 for 94. John Mechie added 6 for 76 with a TD. And yes, a dude named Cameron Latou had 3 catches. 2 of them were TDs. And then you got to take into account that they showed depth at tailback, right? Jace McClellan got touches. Of course, Brian Robinson Jr. got touches. And then Trey Sanders, who missed last season due to injury, scored from 20 yards out. Alabama is now the clear number 1 team in the country to me, even as it has been for y'all for some time, and it's not close. What was Penn State, Wisconsin. Now, number 19 Penn State beat number 12 Wisconsin 16-10 in the best game of the day for me. Like, quite honestly, it's not just that Penn State has won 4 straight against Wisconsin or had. It's that only one team has won 5 straight against Wisconsin heading into Saturday, and that was, of course, Ohio State. Now there are 2, but it gets even better if you're a Nittany Lions fan. This was also James Franklin's first career road win against a top 15 team ever. He was 0-12 before winning at Madison today. Jahan Dotson finished with 102 receiving yards, and the Nittany Lions put up 254 total yards in a game that was tied at 0 until the 8-minute 41-second mark in the third quarter. Wisconsin lost at home to the Nittany Lions despite having possession for 42 minutes and 51 seconds of a 60-minute football game. What I'm saying is they had a chance to win this thing several times. Two of them were in Graham Mertz's hands, quite literally, right? He missed two throws that could have won Wisconsin this football game based entirely on the score. Penn State can't expect to challenge Ohio State for the Big Ten East with an offense that needs 35 minutes of a 60-minute game to wake up. Now, this Jim Leonhard Wisconsin defense is absolutely legit. And it might be the best one Penn State sees all year, right? Brent Pry is dialed in with Ellis Brooks, who had 11 tackles and a sack before getting tossed for an egregious targeting penalty. And that's kind of something I am passionate about as well. You saw that Joel Klatt went straight at it, right, on the broadcast. And I support this man. I can't agree more with him. You have to have levels to this. You can't just toss a dude out for a targeting call. You have to measure intent. We didn't see Ellis Brooks in a game where he probably has a lot to say about what happens next. All right. Number 17, Indiana got rocked by number 18, Iowa, 34-6. Again, man, it's not that Indiana was ranked in a preseason poll for the first time since we landed on the moon. It's that they're seeking a third consecutive season for the first time since 1947, or when Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. Turns out Tyler Goodson is still that dude. He went for 56 yards to score, and Spencer Petras is a true threat to run. Iowa, really, they scored 2 on pick sixes, 2 touchdowns on pick sixes from Michael Penix. Like Riley Moss just showing up being like, that's mine, taking it back to the house. Also means that Iowa's offense only scored 20 points, but if the defense is going to get you 14, like, come on, man. Still, Penix throws 3 INTs in a game. It's tough to win that kind of game. You got to fix that. And then Ty Freifogel had a 33-yard catch that should have ended in a touchdown, but he got his shoes tied by the turf monster. I'm just saying, with Indiana, I wanted it to be a big year. It might not be as such. They got some work to do. Okay, we got to work through this. If you're Tom Allen, Iowa, meanwhile, has asserted themselves, I think, as the Big Ten West Division like leader because Minnesota lost, Wisconsin lost. They have an opportunity here, and their defense might rival Wisconsin's and Penn State's. Number 23, Louisiana, got smacked by number 21, Texas, 38-18. The last time Texas lost to a Sun Belt opponent was actually never. They never did. The Longhorns are now 11-0 against the SBC, and the last time they played Louisiana, they stopped a mud hole in them and walked it dry, 60-3 in the 2005 season opener. Texas hasn't been back since. The Raging Cajuns had seen a bad moon rising, or, over the last couple of years they had. In 2020 alone, Louisiana knocked off a ranked Iowa State that played its best season in school history, finishing with a win against Big 12. Finishing with a win against the future Big 12 champ, I should say, in Oklahoma, because they beat them in the regular season. And then Fiesta Bowl win against the Pac-12 champ, Oregon, and shared the Sun Belt title with Cinderella herself, Coastal Carolina, who we'll talk about in a minute. And whatever we say about the Texas Longhorns, remember this: they never trailed Tulane. Just gonna leave that there for you. Hudson Card looked good in his debut. He went 14-21 for 224 with 2 tutties, right? And I think, I don't know, man, as I fumble with my IFB, the Raging Cajuns got a case of the runs against Texas because, well, Bijan Robinson is there. And Bijan Robinson carries the ball 20 times for 103 yards. They only rushed for 170 at Texas. And I'm starting to figure out who's actually the brains, or seems to be, at Washington the last few years. Is Pete Kwiatkowski's defense went out there and absolutely mauled, right? 4 of 13 third downs were converted by Louisiana. That's it. But Levi Lewis still passed 28 of 40 for 282, and the Longhorns sacked, him 4 times. And, I understand if you're a Texas fan, you're looking at this, you're going, Iowa State barely beat Northern Iowa. Oklahoma barely beat Tulane. This is our year. Texas fans going to be Avengers assembling. You know, like at the end game when Cap is going over there and he's like, I can do this all day, but he can't because Thanos has got the Black Legion behind him. And then all of a sudden out of the portal come all these Texas fans going, we're going to win the Big 12 championship. They hope. Vatek upset number 10, North Carolina 17-10. Sam Howell threw 8 touchdown passes in 2 games leading up to this one against the Hokies. But against the Fighting Fuentes, he was sacked 6 times and intercepted 3 times, including the last one where Jordan Williams had his hooks into Howell like a Brahma bull has a rodeo clown who realized too late in his career he'd lost a step. Williams tossed the football, right? Or excuse me, Howell tossed the football like the last grenade in the bag into the arms of Chamari Connor, where, you know, any chance of a Tar Heel comeback was detonated. And who knew that a public school kid from Tulsa, Oklahoma, like Justin Fuente, could build a team capable of beating one led by an active college football Hall of Famer and national title winning head coach like friend of the show, Mac Brown. This is one of my favorite things about the sport. It takes all kinds, man. Like, again, look at Sam Howell, for instance. He's from a place called Indian Trail, North Carolina. And Indian Trail is a city with just over 41,000 residents, according to U.S. Census data. But it has starting quarterbacks in the preseason top 25 by itself in Howell and Coastal Carolina quarterback Grayson McCall. That's more than Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Alabama, Tennessee, Ohio, and Mississippi combined. And since we're here, let me tell you about Oconee County in Georgia. Oconee is home to just over 40,000 residents too. But its Oconee County High School has produced 2 starting quarterbacks in the SEC in 4 years and 3 on the SEC's rosters. 5-star Brock Vandagriff signed with Georgia in 2021. Max Johnson starts at LSU after cooking number 7 for Florida at the Swamp and getting cooked by UCLA. And Zeb Nolan starts for South Carolina after previously starting at North Dakota State and Iowa State, where he cooked Oklahoma for 360 yards through the air. But back to Howell, who was voted ACC preseason player of the year and believed, we all did, that he was, you know, good enough to be selected number 1 overall in 2022 NFL draft. He had a really, really rough day. And you know what? We both did play peep this graphic. Like, I'm not at all sure that these Heisman sleepers are working out for me. I mean, some of them do, like Bryce Young being 2 there looks good, but Sam Howell number 1, like we got the picture of him and everything. Kayvon Thibodeau is 10 on this list, so I put him on the list. That's great. Derek Stingley Jr. just took an L. Like, JT Daniels, I don't know. It's looking real rough for your boy over here. It's rough for your boy's national championship pick. It's rough for your boy's Heisman favorites. It's just rough for your boy. It's rough for him like it's rough for number 11 Oregon, who survived Fresno State 31-24 when this game was tied in the 4th. We're still in it, though. Oregon began its game against Fresno State 7-2 against the Bulldogs all time. Matter of fact, the last 7 games they played between the Ducks and the Bulldogs have been won by the Dark Wings, dating back to the first term of the Reagan administration. Having put that lockjaw on the Huskies last weekend, Fresno State was looking to solve that mystery and rewrite history. DuckTales, woo! Tales of daring, do bad, and good luck tales, woo! Not ponytails or cottontails, no DuckTales, woo! Fresno State had also won its last 3 games against the Pac-12. And the Bulldogs looked like winning until the 8:28 mark in the 4th quarter when the Ducks tied it up with 3:46 left to play. Duck quarterback Anthony Brown rushed for a 30-yard score to give him the win, but it wasn't pretty. I mean, and neither was Brown. He completed just 15 of 24 passes for 173 yards. The Ducks also rushed for 182, but the defense, especially playing without their ace Kayvon Thibodeau, as much as an ace can be defensive, allowed 298 passing yards and couldn't put the Bulldogs away in a dogfight despite 3 turnovers from Fresno State. Pun intended. Okay? Like, when you look at this game and you see Kayvon Thibodeau with the strip sack, just that's nasty, man. Like, that dude is unfair. 5 is slender and 5 is still 250 pounds and coming after people. Like, what do you, my goodness, this pass rush. And it's also telling that losing that dude, their talisman on defense, can do this to an Oregon football team that also had a hard time moving the football, right? It could be that Oregon is not that good. It could be that Fresno State is. It could be both, quite honestly, because Fresno State has done nothing but acquit itself well. I'm saying that I would be shocked if Oregon puts a really good shellacking on an Ohio State team we're going to get to see play next week. But I did not expect Fresno State to give Oregon a game at all. I certainly did not expect for it to be a one-score game at the start of the fourth quarter with Fresno State in the lead. I mean, you look at this 45-yard run. Like, there's so much going on here that I want to see in 10 weeks, because looking at Fresno State, that would have been my group of 5 darling had they been able to beat Oregon. I mean, because like that for me is the best team in the Pac-12. And you know what? Pac-12 media members believe that as well. Just go take a look at the preseason poll. Another reason preseason polls are awesome, because now we have this. We expect you to be great, Oregon. So go be great against Ohio State. Speaking of Ohio State, we had Thursday night football on Big Fox, baby. Eat your heart out, Joe Buck and Troy. You are good-looking Pro Football Hall of Famers, and I want to be clear about that. You both need to do the number 1 ranked show. We would love to have you. We like nothing more. That's an invitation. Please accept it. Ahead of kickoff, the Buckeyes won 21 consecutive opening games dating back to 1999. They lost to number 12 Miami then, but the Buckeyes walked into Huntington Bank Stadium 46-7 all time and have won 11 straight, including 27 of the last 28 meetings between the two. And you know what? The Buckeyes were 22-5 in Minneapolis, but had only played twice before at the bank. And they broke it both times. In 2010, it was 52-10. And in 2014, it was 31-24. How stout is Minnesota running back Mo Ibrahim, though? He's the only player in FBS who rushed for 100 or more yards in every game he played last season. And he did it again against the Buckeyes. He had 163 on the ground before leaving the game due to injury in the third quarter. Man was looking to go for 200. But CJ Stroud, man, he is that dude. It's not that Ryan Day is 18-0 versus Big Ten opponents as head coach at Ohio State. It's that 17 of those 18 wins have come by double digits. And those stats held with the Nuck If You Buckeyes kicking in Goldie Gopher 2 front teeth, 45-31. Buckeyes pulled up to Huntington Bank and said, put the money in the bag. After a start that was shaky, and so shaky that Quinn Ewers' name was trending on Twitter, Stroud came into the second half, flipped it loud. Now Ohio State fans got their certified lover boy bringing 1-0 back to the Columbus crowd. He finished 13-22 for 294 with 4 tutties and a pick. Meanwhile, we witnessed the rise of the Mayan Empire. Buckeye running back Mayan Williams smashed for 128 on the ground, including a 71-yard run where he hit the corner like he smelled his mama frying pork chops and calling his name. Things could have gone bad for Ohio State in all seriousness, right? Especially with Stroud looking rattled in the first half. I wondered what Ryan Day told his starter to calm him down at halftime. And Coach Day was kind enough to join us on the number 1 ranked show and tell us exactly what he said. I'm here with Ohio State head coach Ryan Day, who is fresh off of a road win in conference play. His Buckeyes beat the Minnesota Gophers 45-31 and got some outstanding play out of his quarterback, CJ Stroud, especially in the second half. But Coach, I want to ask about why you said in the post-game press conference you didn't want to put any expectations on a quarterback. I'm sure Buckeye fans had a lot of expectations that they already put on themselves.
Well, I think that when you do that and something goes poorly or adversity hits, you don't have the foundation to be able to work through that. And so having no expectations or talking about when something may not go well, having that plan ahead of time, that goes a long way, because when you're in it, in the first game of the year, the fans, all that type of environment, you can't all of a sudden start to sort through your feelings and emotions in that moment. You have to have a plan heading in. And that was one way for us to deal with adversity when we knew at some point it was going to hit.
One of the things that you said to our Jenny Taft in the pregame lead up to that is you're going to let him play and then you're going to go watch the film. You're going to teach the film. But one of the things I took away from it is what CJ's saying. Hey, look, I actually hadn't been hit in 2 years. And then it hit me that he also had not played in front of people, let alone a hostile environment, in at least 2 years. What'd you see on film? How do you think he handled all of what college football is for the first time as a starting quarterback?
I mean, I think it was solid. It wasn't perfect, but I think when you go back and watch the game, I know as a young quarterback, I did. You watch a lot of film, and you practice, and you watch a lot of film, and then you go play in the game, and you have a perception of what the game was going to look like. Then you watch it on film, and you're like, "Whoa, that's not what I thought it looked like." From my point of view, not from playing under center. And then, you go back and you watch the film and you're like, wow, that guy was there. That guy was there. Okay, this happened. Look at myself in this situation. What you see on film isn't exactly what you experienced in real time. And I think that's where the growing is going to continue to build as he gets reps under his belt.
I wondered about the second half performance in particular. I know you've been asked a bunch about this, but I'm going to ask it again because I think it's such an interesting part of the story going forward. What did you tell CJ at halftime? He was 8 of 14, 58 with an interception. You guys are down. Like, there's a really good opportunity for him to be down on himself and for his teammates to, yes, pick him up, which they did, but also maybe not believe in him.
Well, I told them we're just going to keep calling them, and we're not going to stop. And I'm not going to change how we're calling this thing. We're not going to do that. And by the way, it's about to start raining a lot harder, so it's even harder for you. And he took it on. I think after the game, he had an appreciation for exactly, how things went, and I think he understands a little bit more now than he did certainly a week ago at this time, and that's great. But yeah, that was the conversation. We're just going to keep swinging. I'm going to keep calling them, and we got to go.
Where does the wherewithal come from for you to stay with the plan, to stay with what you put together before you got here, especially without having played games? You're putting together this thing in the pregame. You think you know what you're going to see, and then you got to hold on tight to what you know. How do you build that faith in yourself and in your program?
Well, the first thing is I was thinking before the game that in the last 10 years had first-time quarterbacks for me in terms of as a coach for 9 of them. Last year was really the first time that I've been with a quarterback for 2 years in a row as a starter. So it's something that, fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know what it is. It's just the facts is understanding a young quarterback and how to bring them along. I think it's just something that we've come accustomed to here. Certainly know it's not easy. And when you're making a transition from high school football to college football, especially at this level, it is a significant jump. And so understanding that coming in and, just trying to handle it the best you can is all we can do. I think the other thing that we did a good job of is, we relied on the veterans around CJ. I thought the offensive line did a really good job in protection. Thought we ran the ball well. And obviously the receivers, made some huge plays for us.
You did run the ball well, extremely well. We got to see, I called it the rise of the Mayan Empire, Mayan Williams getting to the corner, taking it to the house. We got to see Travion Henderson. We got to see Master T. We got to see Mark Crowley. And quiet as it's kept, your offensive line is enormous, man. Like, you're like running 4 tackles out there, dog. Like, how do you feel about having this amount of talent and trying to just push it in the right direction, teach it, because you know what you have going forward. You know you have what you need to win. How do you feel when you know you have that on the sideline?
Well, first off, it's week to week. And, you have to put it together one game plan at a time. And what happened the week before, doesn't affect what's going on this week. I mean, we got to bring it every single week, and we got a brand new challenge this week. We do have talent, but we also have inexperience. A lot of these guys haven't played. Paris, really hasn't played a whole bunch. Luke, not as much. Thayer got moved from tackle to guard. I thought he made that transition really well, but that's new for him.
Mm-hmm.
Went from right to left, and DeJuan's new at right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really all playing new positions. But like you said, that they're very, very talented. I think they have the right mindset. And, it does give you a peace of mind going into the game that you have the athleticism. We just don't have the experience. And Coach Stud does a great job of coaching them. I think we do have a good stable of backs that's going to pay off, as we head into these bigger games. And I think it takes a lot of pressure off the quarterback.
Last question for you, Coach. Obviously watched the defense and how it was being challenged in the run game by a really good running back. I think one of the best running backs in the country. And we hope that Muhammad Ibrahim is okay, because that was outstanding to watch. What do you tell your defense? What did you see on film that they need to clean up ahead of Oregon?
I thought we played hard. I think that was the first. It was a physical game. It's like having a physical game like that for your first game is a challenge. I mean, we went into the preseason knowing we had to get game ready to play that type of physical game, a conference game with a lot of young guys who hadn't done it. All the linebackers were brand new, a bunch of guys in the secondary, inexperienced. Everything that was going on in that defense was for the first time for a lot of those guys. We always say, you can make up with effort for, maybe a little bit of a misalignment or things like that. So when you look at it, we did have a couple of missed tackles. And so we got to clean that stuff up. If we can, they did have the one explosive play. We did create some turnovers, almost had a third turnover that I thought would have been, really a game changer. We got called for kind of hands to the face on a quarterback. That was unfortunate, but, we did create some turnovers. We make them drive the entire field. If we can clean up some things in terms of detail, that could have been a different game. But going into this game, we have a new challenge, and, we got to come together, because one of the plans to win for us is to play great defense. And if we want to win big games and make a run at this thing, then we're going to have to do that.
Right on. Ohio State head coach Ryan Day, thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on the Number One Ranked Show, and good luck against Oregon this Saturday.
Thanks, RJ.
He makes a really good point about perhaps having like 3 turnovers there, because we're talking about a roughing the passer that negates a Josh Proctor interception, and basically was a 14-point swing. Perhaps it's closer, perhaps it's not. I thought it was an incredible football game, and I was privileged to be there at Huntington Bank Stadium to watch it. We're also incredibly grateful to Coach Ryan Day, and we hope to have him back on the show very soon and quite often. Now, the Big 12, the Big 12 has 12 teams again? All right, so as you can see, the Big 12 is solidifying its position on the food chain after the SEC didn't look a gift horse in the mouth. And when OU and Texas basically, banged on the door of the SEC and said, let us in, like Baby D at Pinkies, Day, don't make me break this window. Big 12 looked at the American and saw a mark. It's planning to snatch Cincinnati, Houston, 2017 national champion UCF from the American, and add BYU from the Pac-12 footprint. Now, you saw Bruce's tweet, but I think this is really about Bob Bowlesby finally acting like a member of the 5 families, like a crime boss for the 5 families. Nah, this man came out here, a little scrappy gangster, said, no, I am not going to let you dissolve my conference. I will go take from somebody else's conference, and I'm going to convince an independent to come straight on through. All right. Now we gotta take a look at my preseason top 25. And wow, dog, like when I saw this in graphical form, I was elated. I was elated because the preseason ranking does what a preseason ranking is supposed to do, which is get destroyed. Look at this. We got L's to Clemson. We got L's to LSU. Like, that's 2 of my top 10 teams. I'd like to point out that 8 of them are still intact, right? I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, some of these are sketch, like Iowa State. It's a little too tight against Northern Iowa. Like Oklahoma, a little too tight against Tulane. We will have some moving and shuffling and shaking on this top 25 tree. We're going to have some new additions. So that is as good a tease as any for Tuesday's show, where you can watch the show live on YouTube on the Fox Sports app, and you can be with us as I break down my top 25 heading into the week 2 slate of football games. That is it for our show today. The number 1 ranked show is hosted by me, RJ Young. Thank you to our sponsor, DirecTV Stream. Our lead producer is Catherine Donnelly. Our director is John Marcus. Our social media manager is Javion Duncan. Our editor is Atang Tejano. And our executive producer is Kristen Herlihy. That's it for me. Doses.